Welcome back, folks, to another episode of Jamin's Daily. And today we have a real treat because we're going to talk about next gen consoles and gaming. Now, on some previous episodes, me and my nephew were playing games and going over kind of practicing because he wants to be a gamer, an online streaming gamer. That's how you put it. But while we were doing this, and at that time, the reason I even made that content was because my nephews happened to be here staying at my house because their father was away on a business trip, okay? And they played a lot of video games as teenagers are prone to do. Well, my young boys were here and were exposed to that for a whole week. And James, who just turned 5, for the first time, I mean, he's been interested perhaps, but was the first time he actually was handed the controller and played and was getting into it, was able to do things. Now, I hate to admit, he learned the first game he learned to play was GTA, which is not age appropriate. He played that for a little bit and he was having fun with it, no doubt. But put a stop to that, and we went. And I made that decision then. I was like, you know what? He's old enough. We need to get a video game, a console for him. So we go to Best Buy, and as you walk towards the aisle where the gaming systems should be, there is an empty, shelving with glass with a sign on it that says all next gen. That's the word they use. All next gen consoles are completely sold out. So I'm like, crap. And we look around. I tell my boy, I'm like, listen, they're not there. We can't buy one. Sorry. And so his eyes fixate. He sees like a Nintendo Switch. Why the heck are all the Switches available? Nobody wants to buy a Nintendo Switch? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy you that because then I don't want to play that. You're the only one who's going to play it. So that's not how this is working out, okay? So then I think about my nephews they have Xbox One. They don't even have the newest Xboxes, but I don't even need that, the newest next gen stuff. So my next thought is I'm going to have to go to a pawn shop, right? But I wanted to buy it at Best Buy because I have a Best Buy credit card. But then I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to call my nephew and tell him, listen, can I rent it for a day? Like, what's the per day rental fee? Or for a weekend, which is hard for him, poor guy, because he wants the money, but then he loves to play his game too. So I'm sure it's hard. I hate to put him in that position. So when I was on the phone with him, his father, my brother-in-law, Seth, you may have heard of him if you tune into the podcast. Seth, you know him, right? He calls me because he has let me borrow his Xbox in the past. Then I gave it back to him. So he calls me and says, hey man, I have my Xbox. I'm not using it. It's this here. You can borrow it. So go and pick it up. But prior to doing that, I go and I buy, let me show you. I'm going to go get it. I know how to edit. So I bought So I bought 2 games at Best Buy. I bought 2 games while I was there before I went to go pick up the Xbox One from Seth. We bought 2 controllers. Listen, when he let me borrow his Xbox originally, this is maybe over last summer. It's months ago. Over the summer, he let me borrow it, and I bought a controller. It was blue, and it was an expensive controller. It was like the ones I bought are like $60 each. The one I bought last summer was about the same price, maybe even more expensive. I think maybe the one I bought last summer is the same model, but last summer it was like new, and so it was more expensive. Long story short, I broke it. It got broke. Somebody broke it. Not me, probably my kids. Then I didn't have the Xbox. It was just gone. It was all just an investment. I spent money on some video game. I played it. It was all just like a fling, a gaming fling that I spent a couple $100 on, and it was over. But then now my boys are into it. So we bought 2 games, 2 controllers. The first controller, cool color. So this was it matches my shirt. This color is called Pulse, like your Pulse red. Pretty cool. This is Jude's controller. James picked out this one. This one's called Robot White, which is bizarre because robots are not... there's not a particular color that are robots. Can a robot be any color? So what does Robot White look like? I don't know. Whatever, I guess. Pretty strange. Then we bought Spyro. Reignited. How do you say it? It's almost like reignited, but it's also rain is how you spell it. But Reignited Trilogy, and it's got to be reignited because he's a dragon and he spits fire. 3 games in one. Cool thing about this game is I'll tell you about this. We also got Need for Speed Heat. I bought this game for nostalgic reasons because the original PlayStation, if I recall correctly, came with the CD that had a bunch of demos. And on that demo was Need for Speed, the original, perhaps. And so I played the crap out of it. So now we have Need for Speed Heat, and it incorporates all the new gaming, online features, all kinds of stuff. I played it Friday night. I didn't go to bed until like 3 a.m. playing this stupid game. So it's a lot of fun. My finger, because on the controller, look, let me show you. See, so here's my finger. So when you play the game, your finger's pulling this controller the whole time. So you see how it's there? You're holding it. My finger, even now, is like numb. It's tender. It's numb to the touch from playing that game. But we played this. My boy liked it, James. But there's a little more skill involved in the Need for Speed type of game, right? Then we have an online game that we play called Hawken, which is what I like to play. It's a downloadable, and we've been playing that. It's mechs, robots fighting each other. He likes that. There's no guts or gore, and we don't play with headsets, so he doesn't hear people talking. So it's somewhat age appropriate. But what we really enjoy, what he's really got into and makes me real happy, is he's been playing this one, Spyro, which is, I'm trying to think, it's in the vein of like a Crash Bandicoot, Mario Brothers, where you just run around. You're rescuing, you have to rescue fellow dragons who have been turned into like statues. And it's a lot of platforming, jumping and moving and hitting your enemy. And, he can shoot fire, he can hit them. There's different levels. The cool thing about it, and there's levels, then there's different worlds you go to, and it shows you percentages of different areas that you've completed. So I try to use that as kind of like a learning opportunity to teach him math in a way. And he really digs it. I mean, he's coming over here shortly, and all he wants to know every time he's with his mom and then he's going to come home, he wants to know if he can play video games. So I'm like, sure, Pop, we can play video games. But moving along, folks, this is going to segue in closing. I got back into the Xbox for noble reasons, just to be a good dad. And to also just like bond with my nephews. But I did get my YouTube streaming channel and account all verified. It's ready to rock and roll. This Need for Speed game really is kind of, I think, lends itself to incorporating some kind of live, some streaming, me commenting while you're playing the game, because you could be talking about whatever as you're kind of like a Let's Gundam. I like how he uses the backdrop, the B-roll of gaming into just the content that he gives. I'm going to try to steal that in a way to do something. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind, but it's going to be cool. So stick with me. Stay tuned. Subscribe to Jamin's Daily. Find me on Facebook and follow, like, share. Sharing's so important, folks. So if you know me, you like me, you've seen this episode, send it to one person. Share it to one person. Share the link. Boom. Put it on your Facebook. Put it on your Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Text it to somebody, please. Jamin's Daily, episode 109. We're making our way, folks. It's 109 going on 1,000. Stay tuned. Stick with us because the best is yet to come.